Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Wednesday, the 17th of November, 2021. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. This Christmas is getting ever closer. And boy, the time just flies this time of year. It's like one long day. Well, plenty at Wholesale Holiday Lighting to make your yard and your house look like the best decorated home on the planet, with wreaths, Christmas trees, garland, tinsel, elves, and more elves. And of course, you saw the countdown clock and Santa Claus. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, with extended hours all week and into this weekend. Their telephone number is 631-957-5106, and they service the entire tri-state area and beyond, by the way. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. Omni True Value Hardware is everything you need to get through this winter, which has not gotten underway yet, but will soon enough. They're at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the phone number. Tons of rock salt and the lowest prices anywhere in the New York City tri-state area and beyond. All the great snow melt products like Pelledo, Mag, ice pellets and flakes, snow blowers, shovels, spreaders, you name it, they have it. 631-756-1125, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. Oh God, we haven't referenced Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills in a while. Just suddenly came to me. Whoops. Hang on. Omni always, there we go. This is what happens when you're trying to do 10 things at once. So, Mr. Rayo, it is good to see you here.
Can you imagine when you were growing up, in order for you to use your rotary telephone, you would have needed a two-factor authentication, ID password in order to pick up the phone and actually dial out a PIN number. This is.
You really needed to do all that to make a phone call?
Not back in the day. Back in the day, everything was so simple. It was so easy, or whatever like that. Now,
well, I know you just got a new phone. So I assume that this was like a one-time setup. You don't have to do this every time you have to make a telephone call.
Yeah, but Joe, in order to do it, you know, it's so freaking nonsense.
I didn't have that I didn't have that with my phone. I have an Android, but I didn't have it. You know, when I got my new Android, it took everything from my old one. It was seamless, and you know, I just turned it on, and it worked.
You're waiting. You're hoping that I send that we can talk and communicate from Antarctica or whatever, but that all depends upon whether or not my phone recognizes who I am and which Facebook page. Because you know, I had this problem with my last phone. You know, they didn't seem to be able to figure out which Facebook page it was, my professional page or my personal page, and then it wouldn't allow me to go into one and do anything like that. It is so.
Well, you have an iPhone, right?
I don't know what I have. I have one of these flat devices, and it has innumerable things on it.
I'm assuming it's an iPhone.
I don't even have what I used to have. I used to have a 6, and now I have a 13.
You have
and
an
the
iPhone.
6 at least had a button that I could turn it on and off or whatever. Now I can't do that. I got to swipe it. But the thing is, if I touch it, if I just touch it, Joe, the damn thing goes, you know, puts on a whole bunch of things on the screen, and I don't know. And you know what? Quite frankly, folks, I don't care.
Well, so I've had. By the way, my buddy Junior is on, and he wants to know, Joe, are you using a firecracker instead of a comb for your hair? It does look kind of high.
That's the other thing. It was my Dagwood. Today I'm doing Dagwood.
Is it Dagwood?
You know, the Dagwood look.
Yeah.
I may actually, you know, Joe. I'm supposed to get a haircut on Saturday. I just may tell the person who cuts my hair. I said, get the buzz, get the
Oh,
razor out.
listen,
Take it all off.
I'm a full fan of minimalism. You know, I've been buzzing my
Yes.
hair down for years. It's wonderful. You know, you take a shower, you run your fingers through it, and it's done. No blow dryers, no brushes, no combs, no nothing. It's easy and simple. And by the way, just going back on the phone thing, the first phone, I've had an Android from day one, and I just, you know, I think we've talked about this before. As you get older, you just really want you just want to learn less and less in general, but in particular when it comes to technology, and of course it changes so quickly. So when a few people were, oh, you should get an iPhone, you should get an iPhone. It's like, you know what? I don't want to have to. I mean, I know it's not that
Hang on
different,
for a second.
but
Hang on.
I'm not
Hang
learning
on for
a
a
new
second.
phone and a new protocol.
Hang on. I'm answering my wife on the chat board. Hello, dear. I did try my best to comb it or to brush it, but nothing happened. It didn't. It not. What you see is what, as Flip Wilson used to say, what you see is what you get, honey. You know, that's for all intents and purposes.
Good
you know,
Lord.
It has been a day, Joe. It has been a day. And P.S. To all of our friends at Giannini, right now in my garage, I brought down Santa. I brought down the Frosty, the wooden soldiers. They're all waiting because tomorrow we're going to spend the I do hope it's going to be indeed a balmy day tomorrow, because it's the one balmy day left between now and the time I vamoose south. And I do not want to, do any of the Christmas decorations. Yeah. Yes.
Well, and of course, we should tell everybody, because not everybody watches every night, but you're going to Antarctica for a solar eclipse, and hopefully we're going to be able to do the show with you down there and me up here. That's the plan anyway.
Well, the only way right now, unless I could figure out how this stupid phone works, the only way we're going to be doing a show is if I can get a tin can and stretch it all the way out from the South Pole all the way up to northern Georgia. and make sure when you get the can, Joe, you pull real tight. Make that line taut.
You'll be fine. Renata's going to be there with you.
Oh,
and she's tech savvy.
You think?
She is tech. Well,
sometimes
compared to you, right?
Sometimes. Well, I mean, sometimes on the computer, she'll try to. You say, "Why isn't this doing this? Why isn't it doing this?" And I'll say, "Well, it might be because it's grayed out." And then she'll look at me and say, "What does that mean?" So it's going to be the blind leading the blind, I think, down south. And like I said, I don't even want to have anything to do with any of this. This is so stupid, so stupid. And they're just going to continue to get, what I have right now. We just purchased a couple of days ago. As well as I that in about a year or two, it's going to be obsolete. And then they're going to say, now you're going to have to get.
I got news for you. It already is, but we won't even.
Probably.
Yeah.
See, that was one of our arguments. I said one of our arguments yesterday was, why are you getting this? Because in 2 years we're going to have to get another one. Oh no, this is going to be still around. This is going to be useful. Many years in the future. I doubt it.
I'll bet you on the ship there'll be a tech person there that will be able to help you along with whatever problems that you have. I'll bet you that will be the case.
Enrique Lopez says this is the best show on YouTube. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, Enrique, are you married, Enrique?
Well, a big hello to everybody on the board tonight. I see Robert Brown, who hasn't been around for a while, is on the chat board. Nice to see you, Robert. Thank you for the kind words, Enrique. And we have 32 likes already, and we haven't asked this in a while, but if you like the Joe and Joe Weather Show, hit the like button. Joe and I like to get likes, and we particularly like it when the number of likes goes over 100. So let's see if we can aim for that. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. by just hitting subscribe and using your Gmail account. And then you won't miss the Joe and Joe show because we're on at the very least 5 days a week, including Sundays, but usually not Fridays and Saturdays unless the world is coming to an end. So,
and we're not as lamenting the fact that our last phones were quote 6, and I'm still PO'd that I didn't get the phone that I wanted.
Oh yeah, no, I had a Galaxy S7. And I got the new phone I have, which wasn't even the newest Galaxy. It was a 21. I got the 20 because it was a couple of $100 cheaper. And for my purposes,
I wanted to get a jitterbug. I would have been happy with a jitterbug.
Oh God, what did I do with that picture of the Joe Rayo phone?
Oh, with the rotary on the front?
I got it here somewhere. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can find it.
My daughter, knowing me and knowing how I feel about all of this, when my phone rings, it rings like a regular phone. She got a ringtone that sound just like that.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I do have it. Here you go, folks. If you want to know what Joe Rayo's phone of preference is, you really don't have to look any further than right here, because I'm going to show you what Mr. Rayo's phone should be, and that is right there. The flip phone rotary.
I would love one. I'd be the first one to buy one of those.
I don't think maybe I would say maybe up until a couple of years ago, I would every once in a while, I would rarely see somebody, with a flip phone. But now I don't even see. My mother has a smartphone. She's got the iPhone 13. She just got it.
Yeah.
She's busy blocking people on Facebook.
What a crazy world we live in.
I have a general policy of blocking people on Facebook. I do it on their birthdays. If they've hacked, they've ticked me off. I see when their birthday is, and then on their birthday, I just block them and get rid of them. All right, enough of that.
Well, now that we spent 15 minutes already into this, let's get into weather.
Okay.
Talk about all the craziness that you're going to experience. And it's so funny tonight on the local CBS2, Lonnie Quinn was assuring everybody, don't worry about it. From what we see right now, for the big travel day on Wednesday, no problems. Don't fear the weather. It looks like it's going to be tranquil. It's going to get cold at the start of the week, but everything's going to flatten out, and it looks good for all the travel. Then the CBS Evening News, the network news, came on,
right?
And Norah O'Donnell, first thing out of the box, said, "Your Thanksgiving may be affected by a major storm. We'll have the details." I'm saying, wait a minute. I was just told by one person it's going to be okay, and then another person telling me that Thanksgiving is going to go all out of control.
Oh, it's endless. It's endless.
It's endless.
But that's okay. People are flocking to this channel in droves so that they can get the correct, unhyped information. And we will continue to provide such unhyped information like we do every single night.
Okay.
All right. So we've got overall it looks straightforward through Sunday. It looks pretty easy. Then we've got this cold front coming through Monday, which is going to stall offshore. You're going to get a wave that's going to develop on it and deepen. And of course, at the same time, the block is building rapidly across the North Atlantic, which is going to slow everything down to a crawl. So that Monday system is probably going to have a tough time getting out of the way. Now, I don't necessarily think that there will be a precip problem with that, but there will be, and I think you would agree, if that we're going to spend at least 3 days. I think it's good. It may even be windy into Thanksgiving Day. I think we're going to be on the breezy to windy side starting from later Monday and lasting right into at least the first part of Thanksgiving Day.
I think so. And that's why I'm very anxious to try to take full advantage of tomorrow, because we'll have the mild temperatures. We won't have the wind, because come next week, it's we're going to have the cold, we're going to have the wind, and I ain't climbing that ladder, Joe, with wind chills of like 15 degrees above to try to put up the string of lights next week. I mean, the lights will then have to wait until after I get back, which is not until after the middle part of next month.
All right, well, that's fine. You know, people don't decorate their homes the way they used to. I mean, you used to have almost every home on the block was decorated. Now it's much more haphazard. So it's not like how it used to be. So let's take a look at the satellite tonight, and there's not really a whole lot going on from the standpoint of storminess around the country. I mean, we do have some let's call it unsettled weather crossing parts of the middle of the U.S. And of course, we've got a rush of precip coming in again into the Pacific Northwest. Some high clouds down in South Florida. A warm front in northern New England, where they're getting a little bit of precip up in Maine. But we're now, of course, setting up for what should be a really warm day tomorrow. I made low 70s today with plenty of sunshine, and probably going to see that happen again tomorrow, although then I have to deal with the same cold front that you're dealing with, and that's going to start to bring down some cold weather down here over the weekend. I just hope that Joe, talk about the supply chain shortages. Just want to digress for one moment. I've been sounding nasally lately, and you may have picked up on that. And the reason for that is that when the heat, I've never been able to handle heat well in a house. I keep my thermostat at 60 because if I'm asleep at night, once the heat comes on, and I have electric heat, so it's basically forced hot air. It's so dry that as soon as that warmer air reaches my nostrils, I wake up. So, and not only do I wake up, but I wake up wheezing and filled with gook, among other things, to be as kind about it as possible. So I said, let me get a humidifier, because that's always helped. To get a cool mist humidifier.
Okay.
All right. So I go out to get a humidifier. Do you know? I go to Home Depot. Oh, we don't have humidifiers. We have dehumidifiers. If you want a humidifier, you have to order it online. So then I said, all right, well, let me try Walmart. And Walmart didn't have, they had two humidifiers left, and both were warm mist humidifiers in the baby department that run 24 hours. There's no thermostat, there's no humidistat on it. So, I looked at that and I said, well, you know what? I can, if I want that, I might as well just boil a pot of hot water on the stove, which is what I've been doing during the evening hours to get a little moisture in here. I ultimately had to go online and from Amazon, and I ordered a humidifier, which I'm going to get on Friday. So I need to get this humidifier here before the next shot of cold air comes in, and particularly before Monday, because that cold air is going to come all the way down here as well. Right. So I want to be able to breathe. Anyway, I'm sorry, I did digress. So let's move on and take a look at the radar tonight. And you'll see that there's not a whole lot of precip happening. There's precip up in northern New Hampshire and back up in northwestern Maine. You have showers that are moving along here in Michigan, down through Illinois and Indiana. Actually, the front is now past Chicago. I just updated that. First shot you had was about 3 hours ago. And behind the front, it's starting colder again, and there's a little bit of snow in this post frontal stuff that's back over in the Great Lakes and down into Wisconsin and over into Iowa, and also further north up into Minnesota and the Dakotas. And you're beginning to see the beginnings of some showers, at least aloft, starting up to approach the Pacific Northwest. But in terms of like any kind of widespread weather activity going on, it really is fairly quiet. The other thing I want to point out, at least from the standpoint of the Storm Prediction Center, just jumping ahead to tomorrow, at least so far, they've not extended the general thunderstorm area further north. It's still in southeast Virginia and in eastern North Carolina, down into South Carolina to about Charleston, and central and southern Florida, and also in Mississippi down into Louisiana. And then after that, I don't believe that we have anything of consequence to worry about on Friday. So, but just to check, no severe for Friday, and nothing's being indicated in the long range. So, and as far as WPC goes, I got the snow probabilities up. I thought today would be a good day to just kind of start using the snow probability maps, which we'll get to right after this. And we're seeing, at least in terms of rainfall, now the bulk of this is going to be, we're still thinking that the rainfall from tomorrow night should be under 1/4 of an inch. It might even be under 1/10 of an inch in some places. But add that to Sunday night into Monday afternoon, and you're looking at about 1/2 to 3/4 higher amounts as you head up into New England, particularly in northern New England, where we've got several to many inches of rain being indicated for Maine, and that's because of the developing. After the front goes by, we're going to get a coastal storm that's going to develop, and that's going to create a lot of havoc with rain up in Maine and in New Brunswick. Not snow until the thing starts to pull away, and even then, it isn't going to mount to much. As we pointed out yesterday, this is going to be a bit of an upside down type situation where it's actually going to be colder as you go south and warmer as you go to the north and east. Rainfall in the Pacific Northwest on their forecast is also generally 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches over the next 7 days, which is a lot less than what we've been seeing. Okay, where did it go? I had the map up. It just disappeared. So anyway, as far as watches and warnings are concerned, we've got some winter weather advisories up in northern Maine and some wind advisories up in North Dakota, excuse me, and in Montana, and that's just about it. Now, here we go. So here's the probability of at least 2 over the next 72 hours, because there is going to be some lake effect that's going to occur later Thursday night and Friday in upstate New York and in northwestern Pennsylvania. So they are showing probabilities of as at least 50% for 2 on south and east of Lake Erie and south of Buffalo, and also east of the eastern shore of Lake Ontario, where we have actually an 80% chance of at least 2. Let me see if I'm going to just for laughs, I'll put the 8 button. Do we have anything on the 8? No, they do not have anything on the 8. How about the 4? Okay, there's a small area there of 20 to 30% probability of at least 4 in that little green area north of Syracuse on up toward Pulaski and Watertown and Tug Hill and so on. So it's the time of year for Tug Hill to get going. And up in Redfield, New York, I saw some pictures from there. And I'll just widen out just to check out the rest of the country. And you'll notice a little bit, let me go back to the 2, little bit of activity there up around the Great Lakes. It's just sort of spotty and scattered around. Also up in northwestern Maine, probabilities of at least 2 at 50%. A small patch in western Wyoming, and then you head up into the Pacific Northwest. You get some 40 and 50% probabilities of at least 2 in some of the higher peaks, but no heavy snow anyway. Even out west, no heavy snow being indicated. So, we're lacking major storms. This is what happens.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that, because I remember there were a couple of places on the internet at the beginning of the week or over the weekend, announcing or foreboding of major winter storms they're going to hit, and where? That
Yeah,
was the big question.
I know.
I shook my head. I said,
I know. Here's the Weather Service's digital forecast amounts for upstate New York and northwest PA, northeastern Ohio, and also up in northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and into Maine. Generally 1 to 2 inches, a couple of pockets where it's a little bit more. Also on the west side of the lower peninsula of Michigan, up to a few inches. Looks like a little pocket of 6 there in the northwest. And on the upper peninsula, some several inches being indicated in a few places on the UP of Michigan, and just then some light snows as you move further west into Minnesota. So really, it's a fairly nondescript, not very exciting snow map for snow lovers. The lake effect machine will go on because it needs to go on, but it's not going to really produce anything crazy. So let's look at the tellies, because I said yesterday, Joe, we were talking about the NAO and how you can look at it the next day and suddenly, it'll be positive. And lo and behold, not that it's positive so much, but take a look at this V shape. We go almost 3 standard deviation. A lot of the members go 2 standard deviations negative early next week, and it happens really, really quickly, which explains what we're going to be seeing evolve in the East come Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then you'll notice that as we get toward the last days of the month, it takes a big rapid spike up to the neutral line. Now, whenever that happens, whenever you go from a deeply negative reading or even a strong positive reading, and you see it collapse down to the neutral line, or in this case, negative and up to the neutral line, that's telling you that there's going to be some big pressure changes going on. So I would regard this as, perhaps a little bit of a signal for the last days of November for something. I mean, I don't know where, the NAO, remember the NAO covers 60 degrees from 70 west all the way to 10 west. So you're talking about a lot of geography. So you can have a negative NAO, but if it's too far east or too far west, it is going to have an impact on, whether we have a storm that develops in the, a storm system, I should say, not a storm, but a storm system that develops that could track to our west, or it could track offshore, or could be suppressed to our south. But I'll pay attention. I would pay attention to this spiking up. If we see it tomorrow and again on Friday, it's probably a good indicator that something's going to happen. Maybe late in the weekend after Thanksgiving and going into November 28th, 29th, 30th, at that time frame, and that's for the long range.
Yes. Well, we're hoping that nothing happens. At least I'm hoping nothing happens in that time frame, because that's the time when I'm supposed to be leaving. And the last thing I need is a major storm. I'm going on American Airlines, by the way. And you may remember a couple of weeks ago, there was something like 4,000 flights that were canceled. And one of the reasons why American Airlines said they canceled so many flights was because of the weather. Oh, the very questionable, very unsettled weather conditions.
Right.
And now, the last thing I need now is for a significant storm to affect some part of the eastern United States on the day that I leave, and Americans saying the same, especially on the last day of the Thanksgiving weekend.
Right. Southwest had a similar problem before American did, and they also blamed the weather. And it just happened that on both those days, I was when I heard about it, when I heard about it, and I'm like, there's not much weather going on anywhere in the U.S. It can't be the weather. And usually, that's the press release says it's weather, but it was also, I mean, to be honest about it, it was both companies are having both companies are having union issues. So
right.
So at least those 2 incidents, there was not a whole lot of weather going on. But hopefully that won't, hopefully that won't happen on the Sunday after Thanksgiving, which is usually a big travel day, everybody going home.
Oh yeah.
So we don't want you to miss your flight, Joe.
I mean, the most amazing thing is that all of these things that are happening with this trip, and I've always swore off. I said, well, I'm never going to go. I'm never going to go anywhere during the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Never. And look who's going somewhere at the end of the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. By the way, the GFS, the 18Z GFS does have some kind of a coastal system that's trying to wind up
Yes.
just south of Long Island.
Yes.
On the 28th of November. So
yes.
I don't know.
And the European and the European has a system also, but as you know, as we said yesterday, if the block weakens too quickly, it would take a load to the west, and the European implies something maybe going up the west side of the Appalachians and cutting westward.
Right.
Now, I wasn't shocked when I saw that, but I would be very careful to draw any conclusions from either model, if only because of the fact that that may be the unknown variable here is the block, because it gets very strong and then it weakens rather quickly. I did notice on today's GFS that it didn't weaken on the last couple of runs of the GFS, but particularly the 18Z, the block doesn't weaken as quickly. So we have to we're going to have to gauge that part of the equation. By the way, the PNA, most of the members go positive, not by much, about one standard deviation positive between the neutral line and positive after we get through Sunday and Monday. So, you know, the PNA is suggesting a trough in the east and a ridge in the west, although not a particularly strong one. So let's get these first two cold fronts through and see what they're going to bring. And I got the map up. This is not the radar, by the way, folks. This is the rainfall amounts on this GFS. I'm using this because you can see the isobars better, and you could also see those blue lines, which are thicknesses, and the red lines, which are the warm thicknesses. Anything under a value of 540 usually means it's cold enough for snow. There are other factors involved. But here's our front for Thursday night. Still looks to me like the bulk of, even though it shows precip on the coast, it's not really showing precip. It's just showing how much fell in the 6-hour period. But if you look at the radar, the rain is long gone by Friday morning. I think that still remains the case. Agreed?
I agree. I think it's going to be, interestingly, I think at 1 o'clock a.m. on Friday morning, the weather system, the front will be literally on top of us. But as I mentioned last night, it's going to move very quickly, and a large swath of dry air, especially in the mid and high levels, is going to literally rip on through or push on in right behind that front beginning after 1 a.m. So I think we're actually going to be seeing skies go into rapid clearing mode after 1 a.m. And I think you're going to wake up to a fair amount of sunshine on Friday morning. So this front coming through is going to be a fast mover, a very progressive system, and we'll get a little bit of rain out of it, a little shower activity in the late night hours tomorrow night. If you're worried about rain tomorrow, it ain't happening. In fact, I think we're going to see a great deal of sunshine tomorrow. And again, the temperatures will warm. Inland spots, maybe well into the 60s, near or along the coast. Kind of like it is, you know, sometimes in March, Joe, you know, onshore winds locally and temperatures being confined more to the 50s to around 60.
Right. And by the way, this front does make it all the way down to off the southeast coast and down into Florida. And the high then moves into Virginia Friday night into Saturday. So Friday will be a breezy and chilly day. Most likely temperatures from northeastern Virginia all the way to southern New England won't be much above the mid to upper 40s. And Saturday might actually be a little bit colder, may only be low and mid 40s as the high will be right overhead. So that'll make Friday night the coldest night. And then we're going to warm up somewhat. We're not going to go to 70 on Sunday, but we could certainly go to the middle and upper 50s because the next front will be approaching. Once again, the front will come at a time that, Joe, I think we'll probably won't see any precip before sunset in most places. So it should keep most, if not all, of the dayside part dry on Sunday. And then the front comes through. Now, here's where it gets problematic. You'll notice, by the way, all through here, you know, you do have quite a bit of cold air that's getting pulled down from the Great Lakes and from Hudson Bay. And that push goes all the way down into the southeast. Your front is already through. This is Monday afternoon. I'm using the 18Z run, by the way. So this is right. Monday afternoon. And if you'll notice, the front gets hung up and a wave develops there. There's a low off the North Carolina coast, which on this run The old run was kind of just slowly moving the trough eastward. The new run wants to dive the whole thing down and make a cutoff again. So it takes this coastal low and swings it up north toward Maine. And then another low develops out near 70 and just kind of backs in westward into New Hampshire. It's a very, very odd look, but what the model is showing here is it really is showing how this system in the east is actually responding to the very powerful blocking high that is developing in the North Atlantic. So that's why you have the front getting hung up. One wave on Monday night into Tuesday that goes up into Maine. And as I pointed out before, it's all rain up there because the cold air is actually plunging southward and not really pushing initially eastward. And then the second low develops, and suddenly you've got blue there in western New England, and then down even into northern New Jersey. But and there's not a whole lot of cold air with that. But I don't know. I honestly I don't know. This does not look. This is not a look like. It's not an outcome that we see very often. Let's put it this way. I kind of understand how the model got to this, but I don't necessarily think that this is how it's going to play out. I mean, the logic would say that you would just, the wave will just push the front further out, and okay, maybe you'll have multiple waves develop on it, but that it all should stay far enough offshore. We don't get systems that do this very often, where they form out and then they back, the precip westward from off the ocean. That doesn't happen too often.
And also to emphasize what you had mentioned a few minutes ago about the wind, it does look like the wind on Monday will start to climb, probably to speeds of, gusts maybe of 20 or 25 miles an hour. But the real winds look like they're going to hold off until after the system kind of moves off to our east.
Right.
And we get backlashed by that northwesterly flow. I could see winds on Tuesday gusting past 30. I could see winds on Wednesday maybe in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. Joe, one has to wonder now for Thanksgiving. They've been making a ballyhoo about after the pandemic last year, all but shut down the Macy's parade. Will they have problems? They may very well have problems. It's still more than a week off, but they may have problems with those balloons. They may have to hold those balloons down low to the ground, because I still think we're going to have some rather gusty active winds on Thanksgiving Day too.
Yeah, and by the way, going back to what WPC had, this is going to be a big rain event for northern New England. I mean, they really get, they really get hammered with rain starting from Sunday night and lasting into Wednesday, for God's sake, if this were to verify. So that kind of makes sense with what WPC. The European had a much more, I guess, I'll bring up pivotal weather's loop of the European. And yes, that's the ad for bush beans on the far right there. But if you look at the European, here's the first front. Okay, that goes by. And then, of course, we get through the weekend, and here comes the second one. But, the European, brings precip, kind of holds on the idea, into Monday afternoon. But it develops that coastal low and then takes it much further out than what the GFS has. It doesn't really have it backing westward and as radically as the GFS. What the European did is probably makes a little bit more sense, but I would just put a little asterisk on this, because if the block strengthens as quickly as being indicated, then maybe something weird will happen where we'll have a low out in the ocean that'll back northwestward the way the GFS has. I think it's not very likely, but it is, I'm not going to discount it. It's also one run, so let's see what the runs do tonight and tomorrow, and then going forward. I agree with you on the idea that I still think it's going to be at least windy for the first part of Thanksgiving Day. Now I've pushed it to Thursday. You'll notice there's low pressure there down in East Texas that forms on the European. There's a nice strong high that's north of Minnesota, well north of Minnesota. and cold air that drains down into Oklahoma and West Texas, where you see ice and snow there. Now, the European takes that low and takes it pretty far to the left, has it up in St. Louis by the time we get to Saturday, and then it's moving it northeastward from there. It'll probably redevelop somewhere on the point of occlusion, but definitely takes a track well to the west. So the European says, you know what, the block is going to be there, and then it's probably going to weaken. The GFS, on the other hand, and I'll bring up the upper air so we can examine the blocky nature of the pattern. And let's take a look at this. And here we go. Loading, 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 rawhide.
Don't try to understand him.
All right.
Soon we'll be living high and low. Hoovermon, hit him up, hit him up. Hoovermon, hit him up, rawhide. Get him in, let him out, let him in. You know, never mind.
Yeah. All right, so our pattern is progressive here until we get to Monday. Now watch on the upper right near Greenland or south of Greenland, how quickly starting on Monday that the blocking high develops there. I mean, it just really blossoms. And of course, now at the same time, you got this, it's forcing, the trough that you see lined up to the west down right along 80 degrees west is elongating because of the developing block to the northeast of it. And it forms this, it takes this kind of mega cutoff there off the Virginia coast. Then it turns that northwestward toward Cape Cod because the block is so strong it can't go anywhere. And we also should not forget there's a low not too far from the Azores that's out in the Atlantic. So that's another brick wall. So it's got this blocking high to the north of it. It's got another low out to the east of it. So this thing, it just kind of stays trapped. And in fact, if you look at the run the GFS a little bit, this is Wednesday evening, Joe. The cutoff low is sitting, in southeastern New England Wednesday evening. I mean, that's a long time for a system to make hardly make any eastward progress because of that big block. Finally, it weakens enough that it gets shoved out underneath on Thursday. And now here comes the next trough going into next weekend. And here's the one difference for on the GFS from the last few runs is the fact that the blockiness in the North Atlantic, prior runs were getting rid of this very, very quickly. This run was holding on to that blocky nature up there much longer. So it's the reason why among the list of possibilities is when we look at this on the surface, the GFS is, we'll let it load again. We won't do the rawhide song. The GFS, unlike the European, has a track that's further south and east. It takes a low in southern Georgia, moves it off the Virginia coast, and then it's got it southeast of Long Island on Sunday, a week from Sunday, and then moves it off of southeastern New England. There's not a whole lot of cold air here. The time of year here is a problem. So there's not a whole lot of cold air, and that's why you don't see as much snow as you would think in a setup like this.
Right. So, and whatever happens, it will be probably happening. And again, now, folks, remember, we're looking at forecast models, guidance models that are like 9, 10, 11 days in advance.
Right.
I understand it's the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, but still just understand that. But I mean, if you take all of this at face value, the worst of it will probably come, at least in this part of the country, late Saturday night into early Sunday, the 27th, into the early part of the 28th. But again, that could change. Like 2 days ago, Joe, they had for New York City and for northern suburbs, they had like an ice and snowstorm on the 28th. Where did that go all of a sudden?
Well, how many runs ago was that? Excuse
Well,
me.
that was like two days ago. It's going to change. It's
Yeah.
going to flip and it's going to flop.
But
So
you know what? We know that that's the case, but we know also the type of pattern that we're dealing with here. The fact that
right,
the blocky nature is going to make things more volatile model wise than usual. So we probably should expect some, not only some changes, but maybe some of them will look quite a bit strange, like what we saw with the GFS, just saw with the GFS for early next week. For now, I would say that the rain cuts out Monday afternoon and that it'll just be windy and colder for Tuesday and Wednesday and into Thursday. And also, the either way, I think this is still going to wind up being a big rain event for from Sunday night into Tuesday for northern New England. That to me, I think, is a given. They just get, they're just going to get hammered with rain there, and then we'll see what happens afterwards. Um, excuse me, Joe. I'm sorry. I just a little bit tough. I wish I had that humidifier now because it would have made my life a whole lot easier. So we're up to 80 likes, by the way. So if you could have it in your heart to hit the like button to bring us over 100, that would be wonderful. I did notice. I did notice, but I don't have the chart. I have to see what I did with it. But Joseph Aranda, who's sometimes on the board, I don't think he's on tonight, but he sent me he messaged me on my Patreon platform, Joe, that a graphic of the Arctic oscillation, which we don't, we really don't see it, talk about it very often, mainly because it's hard to find a chart for it. But the Arctic oscillation, now when the Arctic oscillation goes negative, it's kind of like the NAO. So when the Arctic oscillation is negative, that usually means cold air is being displaced. It's going to be displaced to the south, into Canada and into the United States. It is
right.
forecasting. It is forecast on the ensemble mean when we get to the December 1st to be 6 standard deviations negative.
Oh,
Now I don't
oh,
know what the corresponding map is going to look like with a 6 standard deviation negative Arctic oscillation, but if that even comes close to verifying, there's going to be cold air around somewhere, or at least building cold air around somewhere. So that'll be interesting to see if that winds up being the case. Enrique,
may remember. You may remember that 2 years ago, it was like the direct opposite of what you just mentioned. We had a very strong positive, in fact, record
yes,
positive Arctic
yes,
oscillation,
and
and we
record
had
record
nothing. No,
positive NAOs.
yeah,
Screaming Atlantic jet, everything going at 1,000 miles an hour from west to east.
correct,
Yeah,
right.
that's what happens when the NAO is super positive and when the Arctic oscillation is super positive. Yeah, that's not good for winter weather lovers. But now now at the very least with the Arctic oscillation, we're maybe on the other end of that equation. Enrique Lopez just hit the super chat tip jar, Joe. He says, thanks for the singing and attention to the weather detail as always. Thank you. And Sylar also hitting the super chat tip jar tonight. Good luck. Good luck for lots of snow for everyone. And a big cheers to all. Thank you, Sylar, and thank you, Enrique. And thank you, by the way, because we now have 101 likes.
I see 102 on mine, but it doesn't really matter. We're there. We're in the three-digit bracket, and thank you very, very much. That's pretty good, Joe, considering we have 163 people who are watching, and out of the 163, 100 hit the thumbs up button. So
Yeah,
thank you
thank
so
you.
very much.
Thank you much. Okay. You have anything to rant about, or did you do that all in the first act?
No, I think I did all of my ranting in the beginning. It's just so I don't know. I just don't want to deal with it. Besides the fact, Joe, think about this. I mean, if I wanted to make a phone call on this Antarctic trip, can't do it. There are no cell towers in Antarctica. At least I don't think so. So
No, you might have to tie a message on the leg of a gull.
Yes.
or
Yes.
or a skewer, and
Or a penguin.
or a penguin. Well, then you have to make sure
Yeah.
it's waterproof. Keith James is asking,
Yeah.
"Am I doing? I'm asking me, Joe, if I'm doing cooking with Joe for Thanksgiving. Well, I am actually hosting Thanksgiving here on next Thursday. So I'm actually doing the turkey. I have 3 frozen turkeys in my freezer because they were 47 cents a pound. So I bought 3 of them because I actually like roast turkey. So I'll make another one maybe sometime in December, or maybe another one on a cold winter day here in January. But yes, I'm doing the turkey. I'm doing a cornbread pecan stuffing. It's actually pecan, I should
Wow.
say. It's not pecan. You pee in a can. Okay, so it's not pecan.
Oh, no,
Well,
we didn't need to hear that,
no,
Joe.
but that's the conversation came up at the dog park, and some of the southern ladies were talking about that, and it says, Northerners always say pecan, and the answer is you pee in a can. It's pecan. Uh,
Yeah.
so anyway, I'm making a cornbread pecan stuffing with sausage, by the way, along with my turkey, which
Lovely.
I'm going to brine uh, in an apple juice orange brine in dark brown sugar on uh, the night before, the day before, and then I'm going to let it rest, and then wrap it in bacon and put it in the oven on Thanksgiving morning, along with roasted potatoes and some broccoli de dabe. Which, by the way, they have some great broccoli de dabe here. I was shocked at how good it was. And sometimes you buy it, you would buy it and it would just be, you know, the flowers were all bloomed on it because you don't want to buy it when the flowers have opened up. And but here I got 2 really healthy looking bunches, and I made them, and they were delicious.
Krishnapedia says it sounded great until you said sausage. Sausage does not belong in stuffing. At least that's what he's saying.
I know, but I understand that some people don't do that. But I put sausage. I put Italian sweet sausage. I cut it up, small, and put it in into the stuffing, and it's always a big hit whenever I've made it. So I'm not going to disappoint my fans who are coming over here, albeit that they are
I hope you.
family.
I hope. I hope you make it until next Thursday, Joe. It doesn't sound like you're
No,
doing till
Joe,
1.
it's bone dry in here. It's very very hard to talk for an hour without getting I had to run out while you were talking. I ran into the bathroom to get some tissue so I could blow my nose. And the other problem is, by the way, I should mention is JJ is shedding now, so I have to vacuum every day. There's so much hair that I could taste it in the air. There's so much hair that he's shedding, so that's made it even
now.
more difficult.
Now I remember I only saw this once, and this is when Martha Stewart was on the Food Channel. And by the way, the Food Channel, forget about it. I mean, like every single program on that channel, that cable channel, now is a competition.
Right.
It's who could bake the best. It used to be that when you tuned in the Food Channel, you would get a chef or you would get somebody who was a cooking expert who would, over a half hour or an hour, show you how to cook something. And I remember about 15 years ago, or maybe it was even longer than that, Martha Stewart, for Thanksgiving, presented a show in which you could create for Thanksgiving. And I was like shaking my head saying, who would do something like this? A black lacquered turkey during that she brushed this stuff on the turkey, put it in the oven. When it came out, it looked like she had burned the turkey, but that's the way it was supposed to come out. Have you ever seen that, Joe?
No, but it reminded me of the fact that somewhere in here I have a parody magazine of Martha Stewart's magazine Living. It was called,
Yeah.
it's called Martha Stewart Living. Well, the parody magazine is called Is Martha Stewart Living? And it just and it just it goes it really it parodies those things that when you think about it is some of it's really you got to be awfully dedicated to do. I'm not gonna knock it because there's a lot of stuff that's good. The parody magazine is very funny. I'm trying to think of something as an example that was in the parody magazine, but I keep thinking one up and saying, nah, that's not quite clean enough.
I used to get a National Lampoon. They used to do parodies of magazines, and some of them were hysterical.
Yeah.
Of various magazines or whatever. So, but anyway, I thought that was a parody in itself. That here's somebody who portends to be a world famous, the Miss Perfect in everything, including baking and cooking. Purposely, it seems like having a black crust on a turkey. I mean, how unappetizing does that look? I mean, I
don't know.
To this day, I still don't understand.
I don't know if it's for me. And by the way, the folks on the chat board are coming to my defense about putting sausage in a cornbread stuffing. And by the way, I make the cornbread from scratch. Okay, of course, just so you know. Okay, let's do Briller Jeopardy before I choke to death here. Excuse me.
Oh dear.
Once that humidifier gets here, Joe, I promise. Anyway, we're still on this Mount Washington theme. So
did you ever get Starlink? Did you ever get the Starlink, Joe? You've
no,
been
because
for that for how long?
Right. I was supposed to get it in October, and now I've been delayed until February. So I'm not holding my breath.
Technology, Joe. Pull that can, Joe. I need that string to be taut.
Right. Let's see. So we're still on Mount Washington, Joe. So it's highest and lowest temperatures for June, July, and August.
Okay. August, I think I actually have the date. I think actually it was August. It was called Hot Saturday, August 1st, 1975. And the temperature on Mount Washington, I think, was the all-time record for them. That they actually got to something like 72 degrees.
And 72 is the correct answer for August.
Yes. I remember that day well. I don't know why I remember it well, but I just crazy things that just stick in my head and they remain there for the rest of my life.
No, I know. I'm the same.
So June and July, the record high temperature?
Highest and lowest for June, July, and August. So you just got the August high of 72. You want to try for the August low?
The August low. The August low. I think actually in August they may have actually dropped close to freezing. I will say 35 degrees.
Actually, the August low is 20.
20?
20.
In August?
20.
Holy mackerel.
So
good Lord.
So let's move to July.
All right. Well, the record high, I think I know that 72 is the all-time record, so it can't be any higher than that, even in July now. July, I'll say 68.
You're within the margin of error of 8. It's 71 for July.
Wow. They came close, didn't they?
And the lowest?
Well, I'm not going to go below. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go below freezing. Well, maybe I should. Heck, 20 degrees in August? How about, well, I'll go 35 again. 35 for July.
Oh, outside the margin of error, Joe. It's 24.
Wow. Wow.
And let's go now to June, highest and lowest.
Well, for the lowest, I'll say 22, and I'll say for the highest, I'll say 68.
The highest within the margin of error of 8, it's 72, but you blew it on the low. The actual June lowest temperature was 8 above zero.
Can you imagine? I mean, you see people who go up to Mount Washington in the summertime and they have the bumper sticker, this car climbed Mount Washington. Imagine trying to do that in May or June when you have the potential of temperatures of like 8 and 10 and 12 degrees.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Crazy.
And here's the bonus question from June 1st to August 31st. What was the largest 24-hour snowfall on the summit of Mount Washington?
I don't know, 6 inches.
Close. June of 1998, 5.1 inches.
Wow.
Which is more than I think New York City got for that entire winter.
Yeah.
By the way.
By the way, that weather station that they have, that building that they have, is actually held down by chains.
I'm sure. I was having a conversation with somebody recently. Who was it? They had gone up there recently, and they had to restrict. At 3,000 feet, you could only go up. Like you couldn't drive. You had to. They were restricting it. I can't remember the conversation now, but yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, because the wind is always howling up there.
Bill Kennedy, I love it. He said this car broke down on Mount Washington.
Oh God. All right, God.
I hope you have something to make out of will if that happens. Woo.
Yeah. Okay, we'll wrap it up, and we'll do so by. Hold on, let me get this set up correctly because I'm.
Oh, I have an announcement about tomorrow, Joe. And you remember this? I was supposed to do a library a few weeks ago, and I sat there for 20 minutes watching the Zoom link go round and round and round, and the moderator or the curator never opened it up, and then they I guess they just forgot that I was supposed to give a talk that night, and never did give a talk that night. Tomorrow night is supposedly, if they do open it up tomorrow night I'm supposed to give that talk at 7:00. So I guess we will move the Joe and Joe show tomorrow night to 8:30.
Okay, that's fine. 8:30 it is for tomorrow night. All right. 8:30. So the Joe and Joe show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. Still plenty of time to get whatever you need to make your house look terrific. 631-957-5106. The website is liholidaylighting.com. Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, to get your winter weather gear in order, including rock salt, snow melt products, snow blowers, or anything else you need to get you through the winter. 631-756-1125, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. And very definitely the best prices anywhere in the New York City tri-state area and beyond. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. Okay, so 8:30 tomorrow night. Sylar and Enrique Lopez, thank you both for hitting the super chat tip jar. Thank you for the 122 likes that we got tonight. And thank you, everybody, for being here. By the way, I pinned a link to my Patreon page. If you want to read more about the long range, there's a post up there. And you could go ahead. It's a subscription site. It's $2 a month to start. And there you have it. So if you want to check it out, or if you are a Patreon member and haven't seen the post that I did, now's your opportunity to go ahead and take a look at it. I just saw Mrs. Rayo just came in and left. Did she do something? Is she fixing
She moved my headphones.
Oh, okay.
I guess she's trying to.
It didn't help.
It didn't help. It did not help. I guess she did. You know, I apologize. This is the last time that I will stick my finger in an electrical socket just before the Joe and Joe show.
Oh, okay. Oh, the hair. Oh, I got you. All right. Yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. 8:30 tomorrow. Nighty night.
Nighty night.